Welcome friends. In this session, we will discuss about some of the ancillary functions of distance protection. We have already started with one of the ancillary functions, that is stub protection, in our last session and the last two last sessions. Now you are already aware why stub protections are required in case of distance protection and especially in case of 1.5 breaker schemes. So in this session, we will discuss some of the other important ancillary functions like SOTF, weekend infeed, fuse failure, and broken conductors. These ancillary functions are required to be understood to understand the complete scheme of distance protections in case of transmission lines. So now, without wasting further time, let's start with our today's topic. And the first ancillary function is switch on to fault. As the name suggests, switch on to fault means you are switching on your circuit breaker onto an existing fault. And what does that mean? Why we are closing a circuit breaker onto an existing fault? The reason is, suppose you have taken a transmission line under shutdown for maintenance work. Now this transmission line may be of suppose 10 kilometers, 50 kilometers or 100 kilometers is connected between two substations, and when some transmission line maintenance person has taken the shutdown, and at the end of the day, after the completion of maintenance work, they have returned the shutdown for energization of the line. There is a possibility that the safety earth might have they might have forgotten to remove the safety earth from the transmission line. There is also a chance that the earth switch at the remote end is closed, or there might be a local earthing or safety earthing at remote end as well as local earthing. So these are some of the causes of existing fault on transmission line. Now, when you close a circuit breaker, then there is a chance that due to this existing fault, the moment you closes your circuit breaker, your current will shoot up but voltage will not develop. Now, when the current will shoot up and voltage doesn't build up, your distance protection doesn't work correctly. Because for distance protections to operate correctly, it requires both current and voltage magnitude. So in this case of the switching on to fault, your distance protection will not work. What you need is now a protection system which doesn't depend upon voltage but will work only on the basis of current. So the SOTA protection, like stub protection, is also an overcurrent based protection, while the stub protection depends upon the status of line isolator open. The SOTA protection depends upon the closing command of your circuit breaker. So the SOTA protection is basically an overcurrent protection. And second thing, the stub protection was time delayed protection, while the SOTA protection is instantaneous overcurrent protection. Why instantaneous? Because you cannot wait for a suppose a time of even 100 millisecond in case of switch on to fault, because you know that there is an existing fault on transmission line, and now you have closed the breaker, and you cannot wait for 100 millisecond or 200 millisecond before operation of your overcurrent protection, because in that case your elements or the connected another suppose transformers and other elements will keep on feeding the faults, and you cannot allow your power system to run on the existing fault in the system. So the moment you know that on the closing of circuit breaker there is a rise in current, that means, and that current is above the set threshold of switch on to fault logic, so you want your protection system to operate instantaneously. That's why SOTA protection is instantaneous overcurrent based protection, which is activated when your circuit breaker closing command is issued, and this will be activated for a supposed time delay of 100 to 200 millisecond after closing of circuit breaker. So within this period of 100 to 200 milliseconds after closing of circuit breaker, if there is a rise in current and that current magnitude is more than the overcurrent setting of SOTA protection, the SOTA function will issue a 3-phase trip command to your circuit breakers. So now this the same thing is written over here. When energizing a power line onto a forgotten earthing, No measuring voltage will be available and the directional measuring can thus not operate correctly. A special SOTF function is provided. Different principle can be used from one phase current to unidirectional impedance, and nowadays even Z1B or Zone 1B impedance is also used. So SOTF condition can either be taken from manual closing signal or it can be detected internally by a logic. Now the second ancillary function is weak and in-fade. Weak end is a condition which occurs on transmission line either when your circuit breaker is open, and when the circuit breaker is open, so definitely in that case there cannot be a current in feed from that line or from that end where the circuit breaker is open. The second condition might be that the generation behind the protection system is very weak. So in both the cases, when circuit breaker is open or generation behind the protection system is very weak, so now it might happen, suppose this is your weak end, so it might happen that during a fault, this end, since it is not contributing any fault current, no distance protection will pick up at this end. And when no distance protection will pick up at this end, so this end now cannot isolate the fault, or the if this is a weekend condition, your circuit breaker at this end might not open. So how this fault in case of weekend is isolated, I have already explained in our second session on distance protection scheme, where I have explained you the concept of POTT schemes, and in that POTT schemes, in the last couple of slides, I have explained about the POTT scheme with CB equal logic, POTT scheme with equal logic in case of weekend in field, and then the tripping of circuit breakers with the receipt of carrier from the strong end. The receipt of carrier plus no pickup of zones at this end will enable the tripping of circuit breaker. So for more details, please refer that second session on distance protection schemes, last couple of slides, and you will definitely understand how this weekend in field protection works. In general, the protection is very simple. The end which is strong will see the fault, and once it sees the fault, since it is a POTT scheme, it will send a carrier signal. From the weekend side, this carrier is echoed back, and once the carrier is received at this end, since zone 2 is already in pickup condition, this end will issue the trip command to its circuit breaker. However, at the weak end side, since this end cannot see the fault, but we need to isolate this circuit breaker also. So the only possibility is that once the carrier is received from the strong end, this end now see that if there is no pickup of any zones, over voltage is not picked up, no zones is picked up, but carrier is received, it will immediately issue a trip command to its circuit breaker. That I have already explained in the case of POTT with eco logic and POTT with eco logic and no zone picks up or the weekend tripping. Now the third ancillary function is fuse failure. So now as the name suggests, what is the meaning of fuse failure? Fuse failure means your fuse is failed. So when the fuse is failed, you know that a distance protection works on the basis of measurement of impedance, and the impedance is basically the ratio of voltage and current. So once your CVT input or voltage input is not available to relay, and once your fuse fails, what happens is that immediately when the fuse fails, the impedance will be very low. So this VYI will be very low, and it is a possibility that your distance protection might issue an incorrect trippings if you are not blocking, or if the distance protection is not able to distinguish between a fuse failure condition and a fault condition. It will generally issue a trip command on the in the case of fuse failure itself, but that is not desirable. You cannot trip a transmission line when there is a fuse failure in your secondary circuit. So how this fuse failure logic is implemented inside the numerical IED? It is very simple. You know that in case of a fault on transmission line, and basically in case of any fault involving ground, be it a single line to ground fault or double line to ground fault, there will be a positive, negative and zero sequence current and positive, negative and zero sequence voltage magnitude available to your relay. So the relay will see that in case of fault on transmission line, there will be zero sequence voltage and zero sequence current. Now consider a case in which there is only a fuse failure in the secondary circuit. In that case, definitely there is an unbalanced voltage and the zero sequence voltage will be developed. But since your line is energized, so there is no change in current and the zero sequence current magnitude will be ideally zero, but practically it will be of very low magnitude depending upon the unbalanced currents. So now your relay will see that there is a presence of a high zero sequence voltage, but the zero sequence current magnitude is absent. So it immediately detects that it is not a fault condition and it will block its protection. So your distance protection will be blocked and it will issue an alarm. And on the basis of that alarm, operator will take the decision to rectify those alarms or to take the transmission line under shutdown. There is another case. Suppose the fuse of all three phases fails. That means the fuse of all three, that is R phase, Y phase, and B phase fails. In that case, now your voltage magnitude of all three phases goes down. So there will be no zero sequence voltage in this case. There will be no zero sequence current already because your line is energized and all three phases there is balanced current. So now there is absence of zero sequence voltage, but our logic says that there must be a presence of zero sequence voltage but absence of zero sequence current. But in case of three phase voltage failure, three phase fuse failure, the relay now doesn't see any zero sequence voltage. So now the relay gets confused and it will detect it as a fault and it might issue a trip command. But again, this is not a fault condition. So there must be a second logic also inside the relay. That second logic is called delta voltage method. In case of delta voltage method, what is generally done is that relay compares this sample by sample voltages, and once the voltage of the last sample and voltage of the present sample, the difference must always be very small, and if this difference is very high, the relay will detect it as a fuse failure condition. If there is no appreciable change in current magnitude, it will detect it as a fuse failure and it will issue a blocking command to distance protection relay. Another important thing over here is that fuse failure is generally blocked for 200 milliseconds following line energization. Why it is required is that suppose you are energizing a line, then there is a fair bit of chance that the three poles of the circuit breaker, that is R phase, Y phase and B phase, those three poles generally doesn't close at exactly the same moments. There may be a closing time difference between the R phase, Y phase and B phase. So when you are closing your circuit breaker, if your suppose first pole closed but second pole closes after some time delay, so in between that time delay of suppose 5 millisecond or 10 millisecond, the relay will see a zero sequence voltage and it might issue a blocking command, or it might detect it as a fuse failure and it will issue a distance protection blocking command. So to incorporate this unequal pole closing during line energization, fuse failure supervision is blocked for 200 milliseconds following every line energization principle. Now the next ancillary function is broken conductor. The operating principle is exactly the same as that of fuse failure. Now in this case, suppose there is a transmission line running between two substations A and B, and out of the three conductors, suppose one conductor breaks but it doesn't touch its ground. So now it is a case of broken conductor, a conductor which is broken from somewhere but not touching the ground. So it is not creating any single line to ground faults, and your fault current will be not present inside the relay. Now, what the relay sees is over here is that your one of the conductor which is broken, due to that there will be the presence of zero sequence current, but since your line is energized and voltages are balanced, so there is absence of zero sequence voltage. So relay now sees that, oh, there is a presence of zero sequence current, but there is absence of zero sequence voltage. So immediately it will detect it as a broken conductor and it will give you an alarm after a suitable time delay. There are different methods for broken conductor detection. The two different methods, apart from the first one, is the ratio of lower currents and the higher currents between the three phases. Suppose the R phase current is 10 ampere, Y phase current is 50 ampere, and B phase current of 30 ampere. So now the relay will calculate the ratio between 10 and 50, that is the current of lower current of any phase divided by the maximum current between any three phases, whichever the maximum current. And if that magnitude is less than your set values, it will issue a broken conductor alarm. The next method is the ratio of I2 by I1. If it is greater than the set threshold, here I2 is your negative sequence current and I1 is your positive sequence current. And if that ratio is more than the set value, relay will issue a broken conductor alarm. Generally, in case of broken conductors, only alarm is provided. Tripping is not provided. It is generally assumed that in case of broken conductor, after some time delay of 1 or 2 seconds, this will touch the ground and you will have a broken conductor cases transferred to single line to ground fault, and this relay will definitely issue a trip command on the basis of single line to ground fault. And if you are using a broken conductor for tripping, then there are chances of incorrect tripping in case of heavy load mismatches between three phases. Suppose during a case, it might happen that the current in one of the phases is very low as compared to other two phases, then the relay might inadvertently issue a trip command if you are using broken conductor for tripping also. So broken conductor is generally used for alarm only, not for tripping. So in this session, we have discussed our four important ancillary functions, that is SOTF, weekend infeed, fuse failure, and broken conductor. In the last session, we have already studied about step protection. In the next session, we will discuss about auto reclosure or probably one or two leftover ancillary functions like directional earth fault and load encroachment, which is leftover since ages now. So we will discuss about these concepts in the next session. Some of the persons are asking for the sessions on this Ciprotech series or the Dixie series to continue. Kindly remember that I have already covered the Dixie series or the distance protection related Dixie series up to the point which is required for distance protection configuration, the masking IO, and 61850 configuration. Definitely some topics are left over in the Dixie that we will cover after the completion of auto reclosure functions, because now the topics left over in the Dixie is your auto reclosure through BCU, how to configure, how the input output or how the interlocks are configured in case of BCU, that we will discuss in the coming sessions. Kindly remember that I have already started the transformer series. In that series, I have explained how the phase shift between the star and delta transformers are determined, how you can connect the YND11 or YND1, and how due to incorrect tappings of your conductors or due to incorrect wiring, your YND1 or YND11 might change it to DYN5 or YND5. That I have already explained. In the coming sessions, we will discuss about the current contributions in star delta transformer in case of fault on the star side. What is the meaning of 211 fault current distribution? We will also discuss about the current distribution in case of auto transformer with tertiary windings, tertiary delta windings. All these things will be covered in the coming sessions. So now we will keep ourselves up to this point only in this session. If you like the video, do share with your friends so that maximum persons will get benefit and the maximum persons will understand about these concepts. In case you didn't like the content, then also please comment in the comment section, and in the next session onwards, we will try to incorporate whatever feedback that we have provided from the comment section so that it will be beneficial for you and it will be beneficial for other persons also. So comment in both cases, either you like the video or you didn't like the video. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to share the videos with your friends. And also, if you want to have more such sessions, if you want to see more such sessions in the future also, then you may subscribe this channel and you may get the notification in the whenever the next videos are released. So thank you. Keep watching and keep learning.